slide go back, Emmanuel? EJ, go back. Go back. There you go. So, this is off script. Is it okay for someone who knows they're going to get baptized to start giggling during the good news of Jesus Christ? I think so. God, I would give praise for John. Good job, John. He's already feeling the joy of being a saint of God. Amen? I love it. All right, so my job is to get this sermon done before you lose that joy. All right? Thank you, John. Oh my goodness, what a challenge the preacher has today, right? Let's try to hold a baby's attention. But no, there's just a wonderful sweetness and spirit and awareness in the air of how important this Sunday is. And thank you, everyone, for joining together. It's absolutely unbelievable to see overflow seating happening in the sanctuary after so much time having to record worship, and God keep us safe and keep us spaced out and keep us connected as a community. Yes, I agree, John. But this is a really holy day because it's the one Sunday we liturgically set apart in our church year to make sure we honor our ancestors in life and in death. This is a painful day. Can I just say that? It's a painful day because there are voices that tell us sometimes, just move on. Yeah, this person or these people died, but now you just got to live your life. But that's not faithful because in reality, we are still grieving. And we need to make space for that. This is also a day of thanksgiving because those we have known and loved have often been instruments. They've been God's sculpting hands to help shape us into who we are. This day also has some ache and pain to it because we may be grieving the loss of a loved one who wasn't really there for us when they were alive. And yet we feel that loss. And this is a day of peace because those who have lived and laughed with us, those who have sacrificed and suffered and at the end got sick, they are now in a place, as Revelation says, as Chris so beautifully read, they're in a place where there is no more suffering, where there is no more pain, there's no more mourning or crying. They are now in a beautiful place. They're attending the greatest and most joyous family reunion in the history of the universe. Amen? Because they are surrounded by all the saints in light. And this is a day of hope. We suffer and mourn, but we do not do so alone. Nor are we bound to perpetual sadness. Jesus weeps with us, and Jesus is the resurrection and the life. Because of the resurrection, we know that we have a future guaranteed for us with God in heaven. So with our future guaranteed, we are freed up to live as the saints, to gather in communion with the saints, as we're about to confess, in real time, in real space, at Pilgrim Lutheran Church and School, in the year of 2021, because we as Lutherans have a powerful understanding of what it means to be a saint. Next slide. To be a saint in a Lutheran understanding, go back one. Saints are those, agios in Greek, are those who have been made righteous by the grace of the cross and by the reality of the resurrection. Let me say that one more time, even though it's on your screen. This is like the crucial part of the good news today. We are all made saints by the grace of the cross and the reality of the resurrection. Though we recognize certain extraordinary people throughout history, and we as Lutherans don't pray to saints, but we do have a calendar of the saints. If you don't do it now, it'd probably be distracting, but if you look at the red, or as it's also been called, cranberry hymnals in front of you in the pews, there's a calendar of all the saints. We acknowledge the saints, we celebrate the saints. They are the ones whose lives point to God in compelling ways. We do not pray to the saints, but we receive the inspiration of how they lived as a guide of how we are to live now in our Christian walk. But theologically, from a Lutheran perspective, those great saints, even Martin Luther, they are not in a separate category than us. We are all saints. And there's two categories of saints. Those that have died and have gone on to be in the communion of all the saints in light in heaven, and those that are on this side of heaven, made righteous by God. And so we consider people on both sides of heaven saints. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So, for example, and this comes from the Bible, when Paul used the words agios, when he used the word saints, most of the time he was referring to people who were alive on earth. He said, to the saints in Ephesus, to the saints in Colossus, to the saints in Rome. This was a term that connected the eternal with the temporal, with heaven and earth. So, I just want to close my message with asking the question, what does it mean to live life as a saint? What does it mean to live as a saint? Especially when we acknowledge that we're mourning. What does it mean to live that identity? Well, I just want to celebrate Pilgrim and kind of the momentum we're feeling here as a community. You know, we had this awesome ministry fair on the 17th where we helped people connect with their calling and their purpose. We recently had a walkathon that raised a bunch of money and celebrated the inclusion and welcome that our school provides to this whole neighborhood. Last Sunday, we confirmed the faith of Nate Volkins and all of our faith as we celebrate being a Reformation community. And next Sunday, we're lifting up Commitment Sunday, in which we can pray about the ways God is moving in our lives and in our heart to share the gifts that God has given us, especially financially next Sunday, to support what God is building here. God is building something here that will help build the kingdom in the world. Amen? And so, being that today is All Saints Sunday, it wouldn't be a bad idea, as we're looking to an answer to this question, what does it mean to live life as a saint? To lift up the witness of someone named Colin Powell, who fought in Vietnam, next slide, who served as a national security advisor, chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff, and later still as the Secretary of State, the son of two immigrants from Jamaica. He grew up in the Bronx. Anybody ever in the Bronx? Ever been in the Bronx, New York? It's a fantastic place. He, throughout his life, whether you agree with him or politically or any way, kind of way, he was a church person. He was a person of faith. For example, as a member of St. Margaret's Episcopal Church, he served as a counter. Renee, do we need any counters now that we're back in person? Renee is getting an amen as a member of our Charkov worship committee. He formed a youth ministry at his church because his church didn't have formally a youth ministry. And then, Mrs. President Dickerson, he served as the council president while he was doing all these high-level jobs in D.C. So I saw a post on social media and someone chimed in. They had actually been part of the Pioneer Chapel in Leavenworth, Kansas. It's a military base. So when the church said we need people to clean up and polish the pews, guess who showed up? Colin Powell. Colin Powell was there with all the other members of the church helping to polish the pews. Are you kidding me? Someone with that stature, with that trajectory, is investing in his church, in his community. And in a book that he wrote about his life and his faith, he wrote, "Always show more kindness than seems necessary, because the person receiving it needs it more than you will ever know." General Powell's witness reflect the influence of the church and its liturgy that inspires all of us, even in the midst of busy careers. Who had a busy week this week, by the way? Who had a really busy week? So I had a busy week. I was also not living a high-level job in DC, and yet he found a way to honor church, honor worship, and honor service to the community. So I just want to close by lifting up this wonderful quote from Martin Luther, who reminds us of the dual nature of saints. And if we're going to answer this question of what it means to live as a saint, this is the quote I just said. Very good. Thank you very much. And next slide. Martin Luther said, "You must make a distinction between the saints who are dead and those who are still living, and what you must do for the saints. To be a saint is to honor the living saints that are your neighbors, the naked, the hungry, the thirsty, the poor, those who have wives and children, those who suffer shame. Turn to them and help them. This is where you are to apply your works. There use your tongue to defend, draw near, advise. Cover them with your coat and help them in order to uphold their honor." Is that not an awesome quote? Isn't that great? Even though we feel the sentimentality and tradition and power of the ancestors, to live as a saint is to live in the here and the now with those in need. And just one more quick story as I close from Colin Powell, and I think this is hilarious, because Episcopalians, as well as Lutherans, may I add, some will accuse us of having boring worship services, very liturgical, very rote, and when his, what? Impossible. No, it's true. And when his mother passed away in 1984, Powell wrote in his book, "My mother, my own dear mother, received a unisex, low-key, non-triumphant burial service. I do not recall hearing the word God mentioned once, and I found myself whispering, 'Don't worry, Mom. We'll do something better later.' Because this is not the way you would want to go." As reserved as General Powell was, he was known as kind of a very reserved, austere, more introverted person. Even he recognized that it's important to make room for joy, for creativity, for exuberance, for laughter, for gratitude. So let us, as the hymn we are about to sing or meditate upon says, give thanks for saints of ages past and saints alive today, though often by this world despised, their hearts by God are richly prized. Give thanks that we may say, we share their pilgrim way. Amen.